Let's talk about the maturation of Kyle Shanahan, the alleged maturation.
Alleged maturation of Kyle Shanahan. This one, I'm interested to get your take because this was sparked by your father's tweet Monday morning after the Bengals victory. So this is what was tweeted by Lowell Cohn. This is in praise of Kyle Shanahan. Looking at him from afar, it seems to me he always has the same demeanor with the media, win or lose. Kind of stoic, terse, honest, unemotional. That is a leadership quality. First of all, can we just take a moment to applaud well-worded tweets?
He's the best. He does not mess around. Yeah.
Because so many people just like, I think it's a half-witted thought and throw it out there, right? Twitter is filled with those. You are my
I can't
favorite.
Even spell right anymore.
Someone described you as being like an AI generator of random 49ers tweets,
Evan
and that
Howard.
was the best description.
Yeah, that was right.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
No, it's just
like
you throw out ideas.
That one episode, but it's just to piss off Niner fans. Remember that?
So to me, this was a question of whether this was always the case, because I see it a little bit differently. I agree with the observation of current Shanahan. I agree that he comes across in the way that your father describes here. But I see this as a process that has been occurring. Because if I look back at the beginning of the year, I do not see a stoic individual. I saw someone who seemed to be on the edge, someone who was losing it a bit.
Game in the rain?
Yeah.
He had a crazy look in his eye, Rob.
The crazy eyes.
Crazy look in his eye. I thought he was going to come get me in the first row. I'm just kidding. He had a crazy look in his eyes, though.
Yeah. I snapped a picture of that and tweeted it out.
He had a crazy, he told me, let's get it on. Is that from Step Brothers? You know what I meant.
Let's get it on. Yeah. So to me, what I want, I mean, you are closer, right? There's a hell of a difference between watching someone on the screen like we're doing right now and being there in person and seeing 3D facial expressions and getting a truer sense of body language and things like that. So if you can describe for me, well, first of all, do you agree with his current state, the way in which your father describes it right now? And do you agree that it has always been that way? Or do you agree with both of those points?
I disagree with my dad. My dad, look, he has a very good judge of character, but he's never asked Kyle Shanahan a question.
Right.
And Kyle Shanahan is the same most of the time, but it's understood that he will snap at you pretty much if you ask him a question that's like, why did you do something that you did that was wrong? If you ask a question like that, he will snap at you. He won't be like, hey, that's a good question. And, he won't do like what John Lynch would do or Robert Saleh would do. It's like, hey, if that's fair, it's on me. I'll take responsibility. His basic attitude is, who the hell do you think you are questioning me? And I'm the one guy in the beat troop, the one guy, but I do it a lot. When they lose a game, I'm the first one to be like, yo, you lost. Like, okay, let's talk about that. And he basically threw Steve Kerr's the same way. Steve Kerr, if you ask him a question, he'll like turn his nose up to you and like, okay, who's next? And he just gives positive reinforcement to questions that are not accusatory like that. So that's what Kyle does. He gives a lot of positive reinforcement to softball questions. And once he loses a game and you ask him why did you do something wrong? He's like, who else has got the softball question? So I mean, yeah, he's the same. He always is like that. But you call that in baseball. There's a term for that. It's called the red ass. He gets the red ass, which doesn't mean he's a jerk. Doesn't mean he's an asshole. It just means he gets a little irritated.
Perturbed.
I mean, a lot of us do, right? A lot of us, they say you don't suffer fools, like those kind of. He's like that. So he's the same in that sense.
So is your belief then that what we're seeing right now in the past couple of weeks is more a function of the 49ers having won most games?
When I was in Seattle and they lost at the buzzer, and I asked Kyle Shanahan, like, well, why do you think your team wasn't prepared? He was like, ready to rip my head off. So what do you mean we weren't prepared? Sometimes teams just make mistakes. Sometimes teams just lose. Yeah, you lost like that to this team. Yeah, okay, sure. So, because if you say you're unprepared, then that's your fault as the head coach.
Right.
Your job is you had all week to prepare this team to play this awful team in Seattle, and you didn't do it. So, he's all good until you take it there after a loss. But that's
That
okay. I
makes
mean, that's okay.
that makes sense. My
Yeah.
hope is that we continue to see this because it seems like the area that if Shanahan can improve, he finally becomes the head coach that we all want him to be. If he can improve in the leadership area, I mean, minus the time management, which unless he brings somebody in to actually focus on that during games, I just don't know if that's ever going to be a strength for him. But as far as being a leader of men and having greater leadership qualities as a head coach, that still feels like an area he could grow in and could mature into the head coach that we want him to be. And my ultimate fear is that he doesn't while with the 49ers, but does while with his next coaching assignment. And so my hope is that we're seeing trends of it right now and that your father's observation is correct, that he is that gentleman now, but wasn't earlier in the season. And it was the pain that he suffered through in this year that brought about the change.
I think what my dad is saying is that his consistency, win or lose, he's the same guy. And that's true. Like win or lose, he is the same guy. If you asked him after a win, well, why'd you do this one thing that didn't work out? He'll be like, what do same attitude. So he is the same guy, win or lose. But my thing is, and that is leadership, but his not refusal, but his refusal to really take accountability for things that go wrong is not leadership. And it trickles down. It trickles down. I mean, anyone on the team who's good can say, I did my job today. It's not on me. And it's just leadership is someone saying, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again. So that's the only thing I would say. That would be the next step. Let's call it that. The next step, accountability.
The next step. That's what needs to happen.
Antonio says Falcons will be tough, playing for playoff hopes. Niners need to run the ball no matter who they play. Controlling the clock is key against the quarterbacks like Brady in the playoffs. Good point, Antonio. Can't take Matt Ryan lightly.
No, you can't. And you have to continue to establish your identity over and over and over again, regardless of what opposing defenses attempt to do to you. You have to be able to instill your brand of football on other teams if you're going to make any sort of a run in the postseason. You're going to need to run against impressive defensive lines like the interior of Green Bay or like the entire defensive line of Tampa Bay. You're going to have to run against defenses that can stop the run in order to control that time of clock. We are not the type of team that can go into the playoffs thinking we're going to throw the ball 45 times a game to knock down a couple of wins.